once I got into playing for Liverpool's first team, the object was always to stay there because there was always new people coming in, there was always new signings coming in. So you could never ever keep still. So whenever you had a game, it was all about the preparation. So if you're playing for the top team nowadays, you're normally playing on a weekend in the Premier League. You're normally playing on a Tuesday and a Wednesday in another competition, whether it be the FA Cup, whether it be the League Cup, whether it be the Champions League. If you're playing at that high level, you also had England games to contend with. So everything was about preparing for the next game. So if you played on a Saturday or coming up to the Saturday, you know, you'd be training hard, you'd be eating the right food or trying to eat the right food in the training ground. You know, there was always a point where we'd always say there was like a 48-hour cut-off period where you sort of really started to think about the game on the Saturday. You started to think about the opposition. So you'd train, you'd eat, you'd try and get as much rest in as possible. You know, you wouldn't be having, you know, any alcohol or anything like that, or you wouldn't be trying to eat anything that you thought was negative towards it. And you'd start to think about the opposition in general. So I would certainly think about who I was playing against, if they were fit and well, you know, have they had any injuries, if I played against them before, what are their traits, are they good with their left foot, are they good with the right foot, which side are they weakest on, because then I'd be trying to, you know, wherever they were weakest, I'd be trying to exploit that, because everybody knew everybody's game inside out, and it was a case of, you know, you're hoping that your teammates are all fit and well, you're hoping that you've got the strongest team out. You know, if I was playing on the right side of midfield, I'd be liaising with my right back who's behind me about what to do and what not to do and who we're going to play against. And instead of it being 1 against 1, let's make it 2 against 1, let's be an overload. So you're forever thinking about it. And then the day of the game, you're hoping that you got a really good night's sleep, first and foremost. You hope that you felt when you woke up, sometimes you'd have a great night's sleep and you'd feel great in the morning. Sometimes you'd have a great night's sleep and you'd feel lousy in the morning, like people are. And it's just trying to overcome them. If you had a home game, you know, you've got 50,000 fans supporting you. If you had an away game, you had 50,000 fans booing and whistling and shouting obscenities at you. So mentally, you had to get into this area where, you know, you were happier. And I was completely different than other people in the dressing rooms. I was quite relaxed in the dressing room before games. You get a little bit nervous, of course, you know, you get a little bit of butterflies, the anticipation, the adrenaline would be running, but I was always quite relaxed. I would, you know, be reading a programme, messing around, kicking the ball. But you can imagine in a dressing room of 20 people now, some people would be incredibly nervous. I shared dressing rooms with people who'd be sick every game, sick before the game, sick at half times. These were people who played 100, 200 games. I'd have people who were incredibly superstitious, so they'd be, you know, locking themselves away, they'd be hiding themselves away, they'd be doing exercises, they'd be doing, you know, stretching exercises, but they have to be in the same routine, they'd be wearing the same clothes. So actually, to look around, it's a very strange atmosphere, but you're all aiming for the same goal. You want to leave the dressing room at the same time and all perform to the highest standard and to try to win the game. And sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you'll wake up the following day after losing the game and there'll be a lot of criticism in the newspapers, or it's very different now, of course, social media, which is quite brutal at times. And mentally, you have to be really, really strong to be able to almost brush it off, which is hard, which is very hard. But you have to brush it off, because normally, if you're playing for a decent team, 3 days later you've got another game and you have to do it all over again. Oh, get down! That's the dog. You have to all do it again. So mentally, it can be draining. Physically, it is very hard because, of course, you'll have injuries, but you have to go again 3 days later if you can and help the team. So that's what it was like for 15 years of your life, really.